Hey, what's going on everyone? Greg here, and it's official with Apple this morning sending out press invites for an announcement for their third and final event of the year, taking place on November 10th at 10 a.m. Pacific time, with the tagline, "One More Thing." Now, we have been talking about the possibility of 3 Apple events this year for a while, and it looks like that turned out to be true, and we also have a pretty good idea at what to expect going into this event, with a focus on Apple Silicon Macs, with Tim Cook previously promising that we would see the first Apple Silicon Mac by the end of this year. However, there is even stronger evidence recently that there won't just be one Apple Silicon Mac at this event, with recent rumors pointing to at least 3 new Mac models in a recent macOS Big Sur beta. So for this video, let's go over everything we can expect for Apple's third and final November event, including some last-minute leaks and what Macs are most likely to be announced on November 10th. So first of all, we are expecting some sort of Apple Silicon Mac to be at this event. The big question is, which one is actually going to be guaranteed to be there? Now, we have heard rampant rumors at this point that it could be anything from a 13-inch MacBook Pro to a 14.1-inch MacBook Pro, or some other laptops, and even the possibility of a 24-inch iMac. Now, the most likely Apple Silicon Mac being at this event, all signs are pointing to a 13-inch MacBook Pro, with either just a slight redesign or the same exact design as the current models. Most recent rumors, like the one from analyst Ming-Chi Kuo, predict that the overall design of this laptop will look pretty similar to what Apple is currently offering already with the 13-inch MacBook Pro update, so at this point, I'm kind of telling you not to expect any sort of design refresh. However, that doesn't mean there isn't going to be a big change, because of course there will be, with the processor powering this device switching over from the classic Intel processors that we've been used to for years and switching over to Apple's first custom chip for the Mac, an Apple Silicon MacBook Pro. This chip will largely be based on the A14 processor, and after seeing the recent performance gains with that chip in the thin and light iPad Air, it is already outperforming laptops like the MacBook Air and entry-level MacBook Pro. A customized version of this ARM chip should boast even more performance inside the bigger footprint of a design like the MacBook Pro. In fact, a recent report from Taiwan's China Times indicates that Apple will have a code name called Tonga for an A14X type chip that would be in this next MacBook Pro. This processor is expected to boast a 12-core design with 8 performance cores and 4 energy-saving cores. Apple chips for iPhones and iPads have featured this dual strategy of having the fastest possible performance for those high efficiency cores when you need them, but also having those lower power cores to help preserve battery life when doing less intensive tasks, most specifically for background activity when your device is in sleep mode, for refreshing to check things like notifications, or from apps like Messages or Mail. This would put these new MacBooks in a league above what Apple is currently offering with their Intel chipset, with their best computers currently maxing out at an estimated of 11 hours of battery life, and more specifically, 10 hours for the 13-inch MacBook Pro. With Apple Silicon, these recent rumors suggest that we could have battery life of anywhere from 15 hours on the low end to up to 20 hours of max battery life. Those are 50 to 100% gains in battery life performance, and that would honestly be a huge improvement for the Mac. Aside from just bigger battery gains, Apple could choose to also put new technologies in the Mac because of their increased battery life. And Apple may, in fact, be getting ready to add their first cellular connected Macs. We've enjoyed cellular connected products from Apple like the iPad for quite some time now, and these may be the first MacBooks available with actual 5G networking ready, so you could purchase cellular plans for your Apple Silicon MacBook Pro, meaning that these MacBooks would be constantly connected, and that is just a feature that we just currently don't have on anything that Apple sells with macOS. Now, besides just energy efficiency, we are also expecting these MacBook Pros to outperform Intel's offerings. We don't have any concrete rumors or expectations for this Mac chip, as it really will be the first of its kind, but if we look at some of the scores we are getting on the new iPad Air with the A14 chip, or even the old iPad Pro with its A12Z chip, we can imagine that Apple Silicon Macs will boast the highest single-core performance out of any Mac on the market right now, even beating out its desktop Macs, and a multi-core score that is higher or at least on par with Apple's bigger 16-inch laptops, all in the tinier footprint of their 13-inch model. On top of all that, we know that Apple is also planning on using their own integrated graphics solution for at least the more portable 13-inch laptop line. In my recent unboxing of the iPad Air, I was surprised to see just how fast that performance already is on an iPad. Furthermore, when you take into account that iPads have a really thin profile with less thermal management than something like a thicker 13-inch MacBook Pro, which also has a fan inside of it, you start to get a clear idea of how well these Apple Silicon Macs can really perform with less power consumption, less thermal heat management issues than what Intel is currently able to provide. So while MacBook Pros currently run very hot and at the thermal limit under max load, we could see quite a shift overnight in just how well these Macs perform thermally, and those infamously hot MacBook Pros could turn out running a lot cooler. Now, if you couldn't tell, I'm really excited for this event, but before I get too carried away with speculation rather than reports, let's just say that the most likely product at this event is a 13-inch MacBook Pro. And the real thing that will be shown off at this event is more of the chip powering these devices rather than a focus on the device itself. But that might not be all. Like I said at the start of this video, there was a recent leak from macOS Big Sur beta code that referenced 3 new Mac models. On top of that, 6 new Mac models were identified in a Eurasian database, so it looks like there's going to be more than just one MacBook Pro at this event. But what other computers can we expect? I think one of the more likely candidates to be shown off for a new Mac include the long-rumored and long-anticipated 24-inch iMac. We know from Ming-Chi Kuo that he expected to see a new redesigned iMac in the fourth quarter of 2020 or at the latest early 2021. This iMac would feature a modern iPad redesign with thinner bezels around the display, rounded corners, new internal component layouts, and of course a bump from the display size from 21 inches to 24 inches. It's been 8 years since the iMac has received any sort of design refresh, so to say that this is a design that is long overdue is quite the understatement. We would also expect this new iMac to get its own custom chip that outperforms what is going to be offered in the 13-inch MacBook Pro with an A14T variant codenamed Mount Jade. That would be its own custom desktop chip for the iMac, which makes me more excited for this iMac personally than even an Apple Silicon MacBook announcement, because we already know what Apple is capable with its mobile A-series chips. And this would be a full desktop computer without the constraints of a battery, meaning that Apple could ramp up the power draw of this processor even more and focus on raw performance rather than energy efficiency. That to me would really show off what Apple could truly be capable of with its Apple Silicon chip designs, and if we see a 24-inch iMac at this event, I think it's really going to surprise people how well it performs. There's also other possibilities, and one of them is probably less likely. That would be a 12-inch MacBook. Now, there is rumors suggesting that Apple would put out a 12-inch MacBook and have it at a low price point of around $800. In fact, Love to Dream, our favorite cryptic Apple leaker, recently put out a tweet saying, "Price is good," indicating that there will be some sort of Apple Silicon Mac announced at this event that would have a lower than expected price. If Apple does release a 12-inch MacBook, I think it would mean we would see a revamped, finally fixed Butterfly keyboard, again 5G connectivity, and some long battery life, again 15 to 20 hours. Basically, this would be the 12-inch MacBook done right without the problems of the old one. However, a recent leak by Love to Dream, again, it's a cryptic one, says 13-inch X2, meaning 2 13-inch MacBooks. And I think that likely means that while we would love to see a super slim 12-inch MacBook and even that new redesign for the 24-inch iMac, I think the most likely announcement at this point is that Apple gives us the 13-inch MacBook Pro I referenced earlier, and also a new update to the 13-inch MacBook Air. These two laptops are so similar to each other that they would likely share the same processor and are both the most popular Mac models in terms of sales, meaning that Apple probably wants to focus on upgrading these Mac models first, and these are also some of the Mac models that would probably see the most benefits by switching over to Apple Silicon. So bearing that in mind, even though I would love to see a 24-inch iMac and even a new 12-inch MacBook, I think the 13-inch MacBook Pro and the 13-inch MacBook Air are the most likely candidates to receive an update at this Apple November event, but I am hopeful that we will see more than just these two laptops, but that's going to be something we won't have to wait too much longer to see because, again, the event is coming in just about a week now. Either way, no matter what Macs Apple announces at this event, I expect the focus to be more on the chips and internals inside of them and how well Apple Silicon performs compared to previous Intel models, rather than a focus on design or hardware of the computers themselves. And in terms of software, we should also expect the final release date for macOS Big Sur. But anyway, that's what I think we will see at Apple's November event. And by titling it One More Thing, I think the anticipation and expectation for this event are going to be straight through the roof. So please let me know, what do you think we will see at Apple's next November event, and what do you actually want to see announced there? Also, if you like this video, well, be sure to leave me a like. If you want to see more content from my channel, including future coverage of that Apple event, make sure you're subscribed. If you want to help the channel out in any way, make sure you check out some of the links in the description. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone.